Welcome to the Orca. Just before Christmas, Elections BC released the results of British Columbia's third referendum on electoral reform. And after months of predictions the race would be close, it was anything but. Voters voted 61 to 39 to stick with the first past the post system. It was a landslide, which has now led to a lot of finger pointing and backpedaling among proportional representation supporters, including the Premier John Horgan, the Attorney General David Eby, and Green Party leader Andrew Weaver. So what happened? Kent Verge was the campaign manager of the No Proportional Representational Society of BC, the group that led the winning fight against electoral reform, and he joins us now via Skype from Victoria. Kent, hello.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So overall, now that you've had a chance to digest it, what are your thoughts on the result?
Oh, what a great result. we're obviously really pleased. I mean, we were fairly confident that there was going to be a victory for the current first past the post system. The margin of victory was a little bit of a surprise even to us.
61-39, so that's a landslide. Were you surprised?
We were a little bit surprised. I mean, we did have internal polling that showed that we were ahead, but that margin was outside of the range of expectation.
Well, then, what do you think it was that worked to your benefit?
I think there was a number of things that worked to our benefit. I think we have to give a lot of credit to the campaign we put together, to the work that Curve Communications did for us, and to our pollster, Ipsos Reid. I think we presented a really strong message that we stuck to throughout the whole debate. The other side did not have good message discipline, and they actually echoed a lot of our arguments back at us in their communications with their supporters.
From your position, what did you think about the process and the fact that because of the postal strike, they actually extended the deadline?
I think it just added to the confusion, right? I think we expected, and I haven't gone through the day-by-day returns, we expected to see a little bit of a bump as a result of that. But even if there was, it clearly made no difference. It just shows that the government wasn't really set to go. They got confused and they got worried, and so they pulled out all the stops they could in order to get the result they wanted. I should say that the No campaign did ask Elections BC to extend the deadline. We supported that simply because we were hearing from some of our supporters that they were having trouble getting ballots and they were worried they wouldn't get them in time thanks to the Canada Post action.
You mentioned a word that a lot of us used over the past number of months, and that was confusion. It was a confusing process. When you look at it now, what would your advice be to any government in the future about online referendums?
I personally think that moving as much of our democracy online as we can is something that's going to happen and should happen. It's one of the anecdotal stories that I came across multiple times during this campaign was I would have an older supporter talking to me, and they would talk to me about how they would be in their car or in their house with a younger relative, a grandchild, or someone who was, a millennial, and they would say, "Okay, let's go drop this off in the mailbox," and the kid would be like, "What's a mailbox? How do you use that?" So it's a silly story, but the generation that's moving up in the world now, millennials, they haven't dealt with paper and pen the way that we have, and it's time that we took a real look at changing our democracy to take advantage of that technology that's out there.
Yeah, a lot of the young people were not particularly engaged in the process. How do we combat that?
That's been an ongoing problem for political strategists as long as I've been paying attention. Millennials, folks under 40, they just don't vote as much. Some people say you don't really start to pay attention until it affects your taxes. Young people have a lot of things going on in their lives. They're not as focused on politics. I don't know the answer. If I knew the answer, I would be a much better political strategist than I am. Even the Democrats down in the United States are having trouble. They had trouble in the midterms getting the younger vote out to vote against the Republicans. They have a fairly decent target which to aim their young voters in the president.
So there are two other provinces considering electoral reform. I'm sure you're watching now from a distance with great interest, PEI and Quebec. What do you think is going to happen there?
I really don't know. PEI is going to be interesting. I was actually talking about this with Bill Thielman yesterday. He thinks it's going to be easier for first past the post to be successful in PEI because it's a very simple question. It's, do you want to switch to mixed member proportional? So it takes a lot of the confusion out, so they can just have a straight debate. Do you want first past the post, or do you want to switch to this known system? I think it's going to be tough. They've already had to vote once. They had a very, very low turnout. So now, when they run it a second time, they'll run it in tandem with the provincial election. The political parties aren't allowed to interfere, so to say. They're not allowed to advertise on this. They have even stricter fundraising rules than we had in BC, and they were serious shackles as far as the advertising here. So it'll be interesting, but I really think that PEI will look at the result in British Columbia, and people will be a little more confident in choosing to keep the current system.
And Quebec?
Who knows? Quebec, all the parties in, if I maybe it may have been 3 or 4, but the Liberals for sure campaigned on bringing in proportional representation. So they actually didn't say they'd hold a referendum. They just said they'd do it, much like Andrew Weaver did here in British Columbia. Now, there is some debate as to whether it would be legitimate to massively change the electoral system without a referendum. I think that given precedent across the country, that's probably a mistake and would definitely go to court. But governments, once they get in power, tend to change their view on changing the system that got them there. You can look at Mr. Trudeau's about face on that particular issue, for instance.
Final question. BC has voted on this now 3 times with the same result all 3 times.
Yes.
Have we heard the last of this, or, because when you consider there are court cases still pending, will this come up again?
You know, I hope it's done. Carol James, the finance minister, said electoral reform is dead. David Eby has even said that there was a clear result. I really, really hope it's dead, at least in British Columbia for a while. I think we should take the momentum that was generated and the public attention that was generated on this and look at ways to improve our democracy and the number of people who are engaged in our democracy that aren't, you know, the giant sledgehammer solution that is proportional representation. There's lots of things we can do that will make the system more responsive to voters without going through this ridiculous change.
Ken Verge, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick.
Take care. Bye-bye.